Welcome to episode 3 of Going Mental. Today we're going to talk about the role of support groups.
My name is Kristy Mounsey.
I'm Andrew Dickinson.
Welcome. When I had a relapse in 2011, Andrew took me along to Ryde Bipolar support group, and it played a really key role in my recovery from mental illness. Sending a shout out to Susanna and David who run the group.
They do a very good job.
Yes, we're really pleased. And Andrew?
Yeah, I joined Ryde Bipolar a few years before Kristy mentioned. Now, I was very impressed with the way that the group was run. It was a circle, it was friendly and informal. People were invited to describe how they felt on a particular day. They were invited to discuss their issues, how their condition was going. They made it clear that carers of people with bipolar were welcome to come along. We had people who had no idea what the illness was about. Entire families in states of puzzlement coming in, wondering what had happened to their daughter or their uncle. And the group just did a terrific job of explaining things and sharing information. And I was very pleased to be able to bring Kristy along.
Okay, support groups are a little bit like dating or finding new friends or that sort of thing. I urge, and I think Andrew would agree, you to go along to all the support groups in your area to find one that's the best fit for you. Because
Check them out at least, yes.
Yes, because they're all very different. I'd like to mention a few different types of support groups here. There's also the group called the Bipolar Bears.
In the Hawkesbury region, I think. Yes.
Yep, mainly in Hawkesbury, Richmond area. We're in New South Wales, Sydney. The Mental Health Association has supports groups in New South Wales for anxiety and OCD, Obsessive-compulsive disorder.
Which is often associated with bipolar as well, and we'll mention this in another episode as well.
And Obsessive-compulsive disorder is a type of anxiety disorder. There's also the Hearing Voices Network, and they try to reframe hearing voices as not necessarily a negative experience. GROW is the largest, I think, peer-based support group in network in New South Wales. So if you don't have a support group near you, or you don't have a specific diagnosis, or you have a specific diagnosis that isn't covered by any support groups, GROW is an excellent resource to check out. I didn't use GROW, but my mother went to GROW for something like 30 years. They've got a very regimented, strict program, and that is really beneficial for many people.
And next we have the Schizophrenia Fellowship. Now, when I was studying at TAFE, I did a placement at one of their centres. They have they're called day-to-day living centres. They're basically they're like a neighbourhood friendship meet up where people with any mental illness, mainly schizophrenia, could go and do social activities and be in a positive, supported space. Now, I loved going there because even though I wasn't a paid worker, I was doing a volunteer placement, but every time I went there, people would say, "Oh, it's so good to be in a place where someone will say hello to you and be friendly and will chat." And people would tell me there every time, "Oh, it's so good to see you, it's nice to chat with you." And I can't remember the last time I got such positive feedback from any job, voluntary or paid.
Well, on a subject, I'll also say that RichmondPRA runs a group of drop-in centres throughout New South Wales too. I actually volunteer at Embark Cottage in Blacktown. It's It's like a day-to-day living service, and so it's similar to the same type of thing. People drop in, people have chats. We do lunch every day, and that one's located at Blacktown. So it's a safe environment for people at various stages of their mental illness recovery. Most of the people there have actually been to hospital, but that's not a requirement in any way. So
and that's hospital as in the psychiatric ward of hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Although people with mental illness do tend to have multiple medical issues as well. Mental illness is rarely clear-cut or straightforward.
There's also carer support groups. Many of them are run by ARAFMI, Relatives and Friends of the Mentally Ill, Association of Relatives and Friends of the Mentally Ill.
And we'll put that up as links on this program.
There's also general support groups for carers run by Carers New South Wales, and there's also young carers for people who care for either a family member, sibling, parent with a mental illness or a physical illness and they're under the age of 18. Okay.
What do we have here? Kristy's written some useful notes here. I'll let you to read that.
Okay. There needs to be more support groups because consumers can support each other and this support is vital. I believe there's nothing like somebody who's actually lived with an illness to tell you there is hope and that you can get better and life can be good again. It's also one of the cheapest ways for the government to provide services to people throughout various stages of their mental illness. Support groups are open to people who might never end up in hospital, to people who have just come out of hospital. Most hospitals don't allow for people to leave the hospital to attend a support group, so that's not for people during their hospital stay in general, but at every other stage of a mental illness, support groups are there for you.
And they may be the only people who will help you too. We have horrible instances where mental illness has divided people from members of their own family, or they've lost friends. So a support group may in fact be the only people who help you. And you find the right one and they will help.
And even though it's very challenging at times to go to a support group because they might not be in your area, it might be a long journey to get there, we think that it's worth going.
It's definitely worth the effort. I certainly thought so.
I also think that we need to urge government to support more support groups. One of the problems for support groups is getting the right insurance and public liability insurance, and it can be very challenging to set up a support group. I mean, Ryde Bipolar support group has been run, is the oldest support group for bipolar in the state, and it's been run for, I think it's definitely over 20 years.
Yeah.
I think it's over 30 years, but I'm not so certain about that. And the one guarantee in a support group is even if you don't find the one for you first off, the people there will care about you. So.
And they should at least know about other services that can help as well.
Yeah.
Maybe some, I think even at Ryde, I found about services that I hadn't found, say, with web searches or from medical referrals. They're a mine of information, if nothing else.
Yeah. So I think that's a very important tool in recovery, and I think that's all me and Andrew have to say on it. Check out your support groups and bye for now.
Yeah, and give us feedback.